Space, the final frontier. These are the wait. No, I haven't stolen your job. We're not doing that this week. We have got a different kind of episode this week, which we've been talking about for a long time on Trekking Up North, because usually we do episode reviews. And we talked for a while about like, oh, we should probably do episodes focused on particular characters, like focused on particular sort of events in Star Trek lore. And because we've got a lot of stuff to do with our Keiko conspiracy, which we've been joking about on the podcast for a long time, and loads of people inside the Discord and on the channel have been asking, can you explain that again? Because we missed that. Like that's massive old lore from like 2 or 3 years ago. So we're going to do that. But then when we started putting stuff together for that, we went like, we probably need to actually point out that we're not actually hating on Keiko. Like, this is all a joke. And that's what this episode has been born from, because...
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers, welcome to the defense of Keiko O'Brien, the most evil entity in all of Star Trek. No, she's not really.
There's an asterisk. There's an asterisk.
There is a huge asterisk. It's almost blinding, the asterisk. But this is a spotlight episode in which we get to talk about the amazing character that is Keiko O'Brien, played by the amazing Rosalind Chow, which unfortunately we will not be meeting at. Yes, the rage in her
gutted.
face.
That is
not
a rage.
She was so angry she gave birth. She unfortunately will not be turning up to STLV in, oh my God, 2 weeks' time.
Less than 2 weeks. Oh, no, it is 2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks' time, so unfortunately we won't. But that has not dissuaded us from discussing this fantastically layered character. She is like an onion in the Star Trek universe. She's very appealing and she will make you cry. She is a very divisive character in the Star Trek fan base, wouldn't you agree?
Well, the whole reason why we're doing this is in the defense of, rather than a discussion about, was simply because every other video seems to be attacking Keiko O'Brien. When I was doing research and I was looking on YouTube, I was looking on other things, every single person's take, from a fan perspective is, oh my God, she's such a bitch, and oh, why is she so horrible? And she's really, she is to an extent, but she's really not that bad of a character. And so
No.
I decided to push us in this direction of being like, let's be the different ones. Let's be the edgy ones and go like, no, actually, she's a pretty nuanced character, like.
Oh, you could. The thing is with Keiko O'Brien, you can almost sympathize with her position. I mean, at first, she's on this, she's on the Enterprise, they're exploring strange new worlds, and as a botanist, yeah, that can be quite appealing. And then Miles gets a transfer post to DS9, where it's like, hey, you can't really do much planting on a Cardassian military mining station. What can you do? And we see her grow, pun intended, as a character into this school teacher, but then rediscovers her love of botany, and as we find out, grows her family as well throughout. And what really threw me when I was researching Keiko is how little she is in towards the end of Deep Space Nine.
Well, she's not in Trek that much.
No.
What is it? Like 27 episodes?
28 episodes she is
20.
in all. She's been in almost equal the amount of beta canon novels than she was in actual canon Star Trek episodes.
It's really annoying because I messaged my friend who is massively into the Star Trek novels, and I was just like, what can you tell me about Keiko O'Brien in the novels? And annoyingly, the only ones that he's read that have Keiko, because she's in a lot of them, but there's also a lot of beta canon Star Trek novels. The only ones he's read is where she just has a little cameo, where it's like literally, I think one of them she's like escaping from the station, and she loses Molly, and she's like, "Where's Molly?" And that's it. That's her whole bit in the novel. But then there are ones, like we were saying with Dr. Pulaski, where she has a bigger role to do, where she actually, I hope that she gets to do more than she does in the show. But isn't it crazy though that she is in, percentage wise, for like the length of the show, she's in less percentage of episodes than Ensign Walsh. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like Duncan appears more per, like, sort of
It's kind
show.
I didn't intend for the evil photos, by the way. They're just there. Um,
Did you
it
just
is.
screen grab these from the episode?
This is official Trek Course screen grabs from the DVD box set of DS9, and then obviously the
I love
Blu-rays of
it.
TNG. I mean that's a nice photo right there. But I mean,
Well, it is.
she's
We're gonna have to save because obviously we are doing this episode in defense of Keiko O'Brien because next week we will be doing a full episode on our Keiko conspiracy where we go over all of it and we let you in on the joke if you missed it like the first couple of times.
yeah. You don't want
And
to miss next week's episode about
don't
that.
want to
Yeah.
miss next week because it's going to be very, very silly. But the fact that one of the main pictures, whenever you search for like press pictures of Keiko O'Brien, is the one where they're happy family on Bejor,
Yeah.
and she's just strangling Molly. She's just got a hand around Molly's
Yeah,
neck. And
she's
you're like,
she's
that's
doing
the
this.
picture. Like that's
Yeah.
yeah. And we're like, okay, let's save that, I guess.
It's kind of weird, but it's the thing is, right? Characters like Keiko O'Brien are a testament to good writing in the golden era of Star Trek, where you feel, you believe. It's sort of like the Mr. Bean syndrome, where you feel that there was far more episodes of Mr. Bean, and
Yeah.
in Star Trek, you look at characters like Keiko, like I win. And Loxana Troy, and you go, oh no, they've been in dozens, loads of episodes.
Q,
What do you
Q,
mean?
like
Yeah.
the impact Q has, and he's in like 7 episodes.
And then you look at it and you go, no, in the space of 10 years, she was in 28 episodes. Like she was in roughly, like she was in more episodes than Kai Wynn, but she had such an impact on Trek fandom where this theory manifested. But that's the testament to how good of an actor Rosalind Chow is, because she puts Miles O'Brien in his place whenever she gets the opportunity to do so. She not only wears the pants, she wears the uniform, the comm badge, the phaser, and the pips in the relationship. And this scene from In the Hands of the Prophets especially shows
That's the school teacher one from the end
it's
of
the
season
school
one, isn't it?
yeah, it's the season 1 finale of DS9, where you see that it's not only Miles's balls that she's got in her pocket, because she goes toe to toe with Vedic Win, not Kai Wynn, Vedic Win at the time, and she just does not give a shit who you are.
Yeah.
You do not dictate to her what is taught in her own classroom, and it is an absolute brilliant scene. And this is the thing, this is an amazing scene that we see. This is the cold opening of the episode where Keiko O'Brien just plants her feet into the ground and goes, I ain't moving on this subject. I will teach whatever I want to teach. And then through the episode where Vedic Win gathers the children, gathers the parents, and tries to persuade Keiko O'Brien to do other teachings and teach Bajoran religion and stuff. And Keiko's just like, no.
Yeah, like
No.
she's a really strong character, and I think when we were asking like the fans what they thought of Keiko, like we got mixed opinions because some people were like, "Oh, she kind of gets overshadowed, and she's kind of like she's not that big," which I totally disagree with because I think she steals a lot of scenes where she's in, like to the point where, like you're saying, it feels like she's in a lot more than she actually is.
Yeah.
But I think. I think like there, and some fans were saying that she was like a lightning rod for 90s misogyny in some of the fans, where she doesn't fit the mold of where, oh well, you've got to be either hot or annoying to fit as a woman in like a sci-fi show. And Keiko is kind of like going, oh well, she's maybe she's not hot, or she's not presented that kind of way, so I guess she must be annoying. And like, and I think for a lot of people who haven't been in relationships, and I think a lot of the writers wrote her to be an every woman kind of like wife and mother, where she's realistic. And I think for a
Yeah.
lot of people watching at the time, they weren't ready for realistic. They were ready, they wanted to kind of go idealistic. It's the idea of going, yeah, sometimes she's a bitch. Sometimes she's woken up on the wrong side of the bed. Sometimes you had an argument the day earlier and she's still annoyed about it, or she's making jabs at your friends or making jabs at like your weight and stuff. But that doesn't mean she's mean. That doesn't mean she's like that. It's I think the people that were annoyed at her are now in relationships where they're like, oh yeah, that's actually just being married,
It was an example of a modern marriage where, because if you think of
Because
television
I
at the
think
time.
if Miles is the everyman of Trek, she is definitely the every woman of Trek.
Yeah, if you look at TV marriages in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, there was always that traditional husband and wife, especially in British TV. There was the traditional husband and wife, but this was the 90s. Beliefs, philosophies, culture was changing, and it was Keiko was the long-suffering wife of Miles O'Brien, who became chief engineer of the station. So she had to uproot her life. It's going to be full of botany puns. I don't intend it, but she had to uproot her life, uproot her studies. She had to adapt. And what we find in Deep Space Nine is that no, she has a life as well. She wants her own life as well. She wants to pursue her passions, her desire, like, well, not desires, but her dreams of continuing her botany career.
She wants to feel useful. Like
She
her
does,
first
yeah.
appearance in DS9 is admittedly her arguing with Miles about going, "Hey, I hate it here. Like
Yeah.
there's no plant life. I gave up my job for this, and it seems like a crap place." And obviously we're kind of like going, "Oh my God, she's moaning." But then when you look at it, like, I think that the thing with Keiko is we need to actually just look into the stuff that she's gone through and she goes through, and be like, yeah, actually, would she's actually incredibly resilient for everything that she's gone through, right? Like if people are expecting her to be like happy and smiley and stuff like that, like she was the chief botanist of the flagship of the
Yeah.
Federation. And then she just goes, nah, actually, for the sake of my husband, I'll just be a housewife on running, a falling apart like space station in what could potentially be a war zone kind of thing.
I think it's the
And give up all
24th
my hopes and dreams.
it's the 24th century equivalent of a husband and wife, where the husband goes, "Hey, I'm giving up my well-paid career and I'm going to become a Twitch streamer." And
It's a hard sell. It's a hard sell. So,
that's the face she made. That's when she found out she was going to DS9. That's the face she made. But it's the understanding. I mean, and we give her a lot of stake for bemoaning Miles, and how Miles would rather spend 100 years in a mind prison than be with his wife. But it's the understanding, and it's like she understands. She doesn't have to like it though, about the situation that she's in, and this is what we see. They're in a relationship together. They are married. Obviously, it's a military marriage, for want of a better term. So if if O'Brien is transferred somewhere else, she doesn't really have a choice about where the family gets to go. Essentially, Molly's a military brat. But what we see is, it's her introduction at DS9. She is not happy. She's climbing up the wall. There is nothing for her to do. And it's more of a case of there is nothing for her to do to implement her skills, her knowledge. So she found the school because obviously, very much like the Enterprise, the station is full of families. It's full of children.
Yeah.
And these children are running wild. There is nothing for them to do.
She's searching for a purpose. She's kind of going, hey, what can I do around here? Because obviously they talk about like maybe you could plant some like, sort of trees on the promenade and stuff. And it's like,
I love that picture so much.
yeah.
My God.
But it, all these different things, but you're just kind of going, yeah, we talk, okay, like obviously there's the meme in even amongst the writers in Trek of sort of O'Brien has to suffer.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that as a knock-on effect of that, Keiko has to suffer. Like she has to put up with all of the nonsense that he goes through and help him through it. And we don't ever seem to think about that. We don't ever seem to think of, oh yeah, that kind of affects Keiko. The fact that O'Brien's going through all of this horrible stuff because the writers want him to suffer.
But I mean, the thing is with Keiko as well, she has to have like she needs her own life, and the decisions that are made in DS9, like obviously, we don't know what happened in the actor's personal life, but she makes a decision that she's going to study botany on Bejor for 3 months. There's this 3-month course and stuff. And then when, like I was discussing there, she more or less just disappears for most of season 7 of DS9. And I think it was season 5 as well.
Do you think though that that's fan reaction? Like, do you think that's like like Pulaski that we were discussing last week, where like because the fan reaction to Keiko was negative, that the writers were like, "Hey, let's minimize her involvement." Because I have been told by an insider that Rosalind Chow, when they started DS9, Rosalind Chow was offered a full part. She was offered to be a full cast member, where her name would appear in the credits and she'd have a lot more to do, and she turned it down apparently. And I think, like I was saying, I think that's because she didn't want to get into the she
didn't want to be typecast, do you think?
She didn't want to get typecast, and I think it was just too much of a commitment. Because like we see with Jadzia Dax, where basically when she started going, hey, could you minimize my involvement so I can do some other roles because I really want to stretch my wings a little bit, and they just went, no, you're stuck in this. And I think maybe Rosalind Chow was like, hey, this is just another gig, because the amount of stuff that Rosalind Chow appears in, you forget about it. You literally, I was watching something the other day. What was it? Was it a 3-body problem? And I was just like, it's her, it's Keiko. And
she's been in a hell of a lot, and the thing is as well, every time I've seen her in something, I've always messaged you going, she's migrating, but she was in so much stuff, and this is what a lot of people don't realize.
This is just a job for her, this was just another show that she worked on, so it makes sense that she's like, no, actually, I'll be in when you need me, kind of thing, and I'll come back as like a support character.
This is the thing, like, so we go on about the main cast of Star Trek shows. They would get about $7,500 per episode. Now you probably sat there going, well, $7,500 for it, that's actually not that good. But then you go, oh, they had 20 episodes, 22 episodes, 26 episodes. That's a hell of a lot of money. And the problem, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's good money, but the reason why it's good money is you can't do anything else when you are working
you don't even
on
get to
this
sleep,
show.
Apparently,
because
when they're saying, wasn't Armin Shimmerman saying it was like 4 hours sleep for like 9 years?
Well, yeah, because you have to realize, especially if you're in makeup, it's like 14, 15 hours a day, up to maybe sometimes 20 hours a day. But the commitment that even actors like Rosalind Chow that didn't have to use like prosthetic makeup or anything like that, the commitment that they would have had to face is they wouldn't have been allowed to take other roles in other shows, because the contract would be, you are contracted to Star Trek. The Paramount contract is very tight when it comes to that, and this is why when you see characters like Jadzia Dax, Terry Farrell, where they were going, I want to go part-time, I want to spread my wings, I want to do other projects, I want to have a family life, and then they go, yeah, we're just going to kill you off.
Yeah, because it's that thing. It's And it speaks a lot about the actress's like awareness of how the system worked, that she'd been in it for so long that she was just like going, yeah, it, I have to be both feet in this or like accept
But
a sort of
but
lesser
I
role.
I wanted to ask you though, if a different decision was made, if Rosalind Chow accepted a permanent role as a main credited character in DS9, how do you think that would have changed the viewer's perspective of Keiko
Well,
O'Brien?
the way I feel, okay, like when I was trying to sum up, like how, hello to everyone in the chat, by the way. Feel free to give us your opinions on Rosalind Chow and Keiko O'Brien,
Should I
so we
do a
can read out
poll?
some of them. What for? For what we think of Keiko,
Is
or
Keiko evil? Yes or no?
is Keiko?
No, like well, I'll do a poll a little bit later on, but go on.
Yeah, but I think when I was trying to sum up my thoughts, I kind of realized that Keiko and what we see in the episodes is like your awareness of a co-worker's relationship. When
Mm.
you work with someone and you know them, but then you don't really know their other half, and all you hear is like half of the story. So
Yeah.
when your colleague comes into work and he's pissed off because he's had an argument, or he's like, "Oh my God, my wife wants to do this and she wants to get a dog, and oh, she wants to go on holiday, but she doesn't want to go where I want to go," kind of thing. And it's like that, and you hear that side of the story, and you don't think, you don't know this other person, so you're kind of going like, well, actually, like, what's the story there? Are they like, hey, actually, a couple of years ago you went to that place that he wants to go to and she hated it, so she doesn't want to go again, or actually it's her turn to pick this year, kind of thing, or all these little things that you don't get here. That's how Keiko comes across. It comes across as, because she's not a main character, she doesn't get the focus. Like, we only ever see her when she's in a scene with Miles about either a Miles situation or something that involves both of them, or she's just kind of there and someone else is the star of the scene. Like, it's very rare. Like, like we say, we get the school teacher episode, and we get the episode, the assignment where she's possessed, which is the only true Keiko episode. Like, even Data's Day, where it's Keiko's wedding, she's barely in it. She's in like
It's a
three
B
scenes, I
plot.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole
It's
the
like
whole wedding
she's
is a B plot for that, yeah.
the wedding is the main plot of the episode, but then the people in the wedding are the B plot.
Yeah.
And Data and his dealing with the wedding and stuff is the A plot. It's really strange.
So
But do you agree that she feels like you're hearing about a co-worker's relationship and you're just kind of like going, "Oh, she's annoyed." And we're like, "Yeah, but we don't get to see what her day's been like. We
and
don't get to see what
yeah,
she's had to put up with." She just goes, "Oh, my husband nearly died again today, I guess," you know.
and this is the thing, like this is why I was postulating the question, like, do you think our perspective of Keiko would have changed if she was a main character in the show? If she was it, if she did have the contractual obligation to appear in every single episode and have a line in every single episode, do you think our perspective would have changed?
I think they would have had to have done her that way. Like, I think, hey, Samuel Bracken, greetings from Singapore. That's amazing. Thank you so much for
Greetings.
joining us.
We are
But
reaching worldwide with our
Singapore,
conspiracy.
that's very far afield. I love it. But honestly though, like I say, oh, she was done dirty, or like, oh, the writers kind of put her into a niche kind of thing. Because we'll get into that in a bit, like what the
Hmm.
writers did with her. But like, I don't know what I would do with her. Like, if she was a main character, I'm just like, because she doesn't really have any sort of Star Trek skills. Like, it's like we've got Garak, who's a spy, Odo, who's a shape changer, Jadzia, who knows everything about everything, and like, can do all of that. We've got Keiko, who's like, no, Kira, who's like feisty. We've got Miles, who can fix anything. Keiko's like, I'm a botanist and a mother, and I don't know how many plots they could have done about that. So I kind of feel like they'd have to add more strings to her bow, like, and kind of go, there's more. Like, maybe, I don't know. I
But
genuinely don't know
maybe,
how they
but
could expand the character.
but maybe we would have seen more sides to her if they'd have given her more prominence in the
Yeah,
show. Like, we know she's a botanist, we know she's a mother, we know she's a
yeah.
wife,
She
right?
she plays. Does she play the clarinet in TNG? I'm sure she's in like one of the orchestra things, and
I
she's
believe she
playing
plays a
with
musical
Data.
instrument.
She
But
plays something
again, you know,
and stuff.
we don't see her talents thrive. So we know she's a botanist, but whenever her talents have an opportunity to thrive, it's off camera. So she know, oh well, I'm going to Beja for 3 months to study these plants in these mountains, and so gone for 3 months off screen. You don't see her talents. You know, on the Enterprise in the Next Generation, when she's a botanist there, she doesn't get a time to shine. There's no episode where they're like, oh well, there's this mysterious disease, she could cure a disease with the herbal remedies or something from a plant, and we don't see anything like that. This episode in particular here as well, this was a weird choice. This was a very weird choice.
I'm gonna get into this now. I was gonna save it for later, but it's something that one of our fans pointed out, and it is the most succinct thing in the entire world. Like, Keiko is, how do I describe this? Like, Keiko is she's like the Swiss Army knife of characters, because no, the writers don't seem to know what to do with her with a lot of stuff. Like, none of the other side characters that we get in Trek have as many different hats as Keiko. Like, what is it? What does she do? She goes we need someone to get married and be unsure about the marriage and stuff. So we'll create Keiko and do that. Oh, we need someone to be pregnant, and they're giving birth during a crisis. Keiko. Oh, we need someone to act as a mother figure and have a child and stuff. Oh, cool. We need someone who gets turned into a child. We need someone who can be a hostage. We need someone who doesn't want to be where they are and they're sort of needing to find new purpose. We need someone who's a school teacher. We need someone who needs to clash with a religious person. We need someone who's a widow, genuinely who is a widow when she thinks that O'Brien's been killed in, what's it called? Is it Armageddon game?
Armageddon game.
Yeah. We need someone to be possessed. We need someone to have marital issues with their husband. We need someone who gets their baby transferred into the womb of another woman to cover another actor's pregnancy. Now, that one there is a bit niche. Okay, that one there is slightly niche. Okay,
no, it happens all the time. It's just a Jerry Springer episode on a Tuesday.
But let's be honest though, she is this is a very obscure British reference as well, but she's like the Mr. Ben of Star Trek, where it's if Mr. Ben was a Japanese woman, it's the fact that every day is a different adventure for Keiko O'Brien. It's what's she going to do this time? She's in 27, 28 episodes, and she does that much stuff. She literally appears, and it's well, what are we going to have you do today, Keiko?
I don't know about you. I don't know about you, right? But obviously, Nana Visitor was pregnant, and they had to hide it somehow. I found it weird.
Did they not know? Surely, this whole thing of Nana Visitor going, oh yeah, I'm pregnant, and getting gradually bigger, and they run out of tables to sort of, that whole TV thing of putting tables in front of them and having them always sitting down and things. But surely they had more time to kind of plan it or work something out, or they could have Kira being pregnant, maybe.
There was an episode where it was oh god, it makes me feel so uncomfortable. But it's and forgive me, everybody, for what I'm about to say. It's like the O'Briens momentarily became swingers, but without the doing it. There was a scene in an episode where I was doing some research this week where O'Brien has to give Kira a foot rub, and then Keiko's just there and just happily
while
talking.
Her husband massages her.
And I'm like, where is the fishbowl with the car keys? This just feels. It just feels. And again,
Are we saying that Keiko even gets to be a cuck? Do we add that to a list of the roles that she's had?
Oh, K-Cook. It feels uncomfortable, if you ask me. And the thing is, the beauty of it, right? Miles himself is visibly uncomfortable at a point with all of this, because Keiko's yes, yes, you need to do this. This is our child.
Yeah.
And like Miles is like looking at her going, this is another woman. You want me to do these things to another woman whilst you're that face says it all. But it just
Yeah, that we'll get into that in the next episode.
but like that face again says it all. But it was a wild like story arc to get into, and I mean it was an ingenious way to work around our visitor's pregnancy. They could have just went, hey, she's pregnant, but it was a very uncomfortable time, and I wish they would have done a lot more with that to flesh Keiko out, to say, hey, there was this shuttle accident, Julian had to like transfer my baby into the most compatible person, which was Kira. Now my baby is being carried around by another woman, and my husband is doing these things. So even if they
this is the thing though, but it even does that, where they even have that little plot between Kira and O'Brien, where they do start feeling for each other, where they have that awkward bit where they're just going, oh, this is
with
weird.
Sid's child, no less. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you, Samuel. Yeah. Oh yeah. For
Yeah,
those
that
that
was
don't
Alexander
know,
Siddig's child.
yeah. For those that don't
Kira.
know, Alexander Siddig, who played Julie Bashir, was in a relationship with Nana Visitor at the time, and that's obviously how Nana got pregnant.
Is there any part of Keiko's relationship that Bashir did not want to mess up? Like literally stealing her husband into a bromance, like getting Kira pregnant
Stealing
with
her
Keiko's child. It's
child.
got a bit weird in my head, but it's like Keiko's just sitting there and be like, Dr. Bashir.
Are you saying is this conspiracy number 2, where the shuttle accident didn't cause any issue for the baby, but he was like, we gotta beam this shit out of you now?
I think conspiracy-wise, I think Keiko is just like, yeah, I'm not going through 9 months of pregnancy.
You want me to
Foisted on
birth
someone
a
else.
human? Are you insane? That's
Yeah. To be fair, though, when the first time you gave birth, it was with Worf there, like where Worf was the midwife. Like, I would be scared about doing it again. I would set up an accident so that it got transferred to someone else.
Worf
I'd be like,
could,
let's just cesarean this, right?
Worf could get tenure in the NHS with his bedside manner in that episode, because it's
It is actually brilliant. Like, Worf,
It is.
This is one of the things when people were saying about Keiko getting overshadowed. I was like, no, Keiko always steals a scene, and I think the testament is that she holds her own against Worf. Like, and he is so funny as a character. He is so good in every scene that he's in. Like, and get the whole, when she's giving birth, they both play off each other in exactly that scene there with her face. Like, they play off each other so well, and it's just. Yeah, it's great to get a scene between these two characters, because Keiko doesn't get to interact with people as much as she should.
Do you feel like she gets overshadowed a lot?
I think she has to, because obviously the other characters need more development. So I think the fact is that when you have mainline characters, they matter more. Like, so the plots will center around them more, and that, like we see with side characters, they might get an episode, like like Reg Barkley from TNG and Voyager, I guess. Actually, yeah, he gets a few episodes. He's from both of them. He gets quite a few. Like, he gets a lot of his own episodes for a side character, whereas Keiko just gets one. She literally just gets the assignment, which she blows out of the park. But I think she doesn't get overshadowed in the scene she's in, but in terms of what plot she has and what she gets to do in an episode, she's over. Everyone else gets better stuff.
I feel she's treated as a jumping off point for more important characters in the show.
Well, I think she's there to be a motivation for Miles. Like, you know how it's like we see with Jake, okay? Because with Jake, there was a very early on in the show, it was very clear that Jake was there purely so that Cisco could be a dad.
Yeah.
So it was important that Cisco needed to feel like a dad and act like a dad and have that kind of situation. But then the problem there is going, oh yeah, you have to have this character who's his child, and that character needs to do stuff. And because they were a mainline character, you know, they had to find things for them to do, and there was just nothing for Jake to do for loads of stuff. And then later on he becomes more important and he gets to do more stuff and whatnot and gets to develop as a character and gets his own episodes. But like Keiko was like, she wasn't a mainline character, so she was there to be Miles's wife, but then she doesn't really get to escape from that,
But she,
because she's not in enough.
but going back to how we see her on DS9, she doesn't seem to have any friends or
Yeah.
anything outside of just being with Miles. Like you very rarely see her socializing on the station.
But she doesn't. I've watched loads of Keiko episodes, like doing research for this, and like I don't think I watched all of them, but I've probably watched about 19 episodes of Keiko in, and it's like, and some
That
of them I know
face
very
again.
well anyway.
That's
There
her
we go.
looking at
That's
you
the-
going,
"Oh, you only watched
19?"
19. I meant 20 odd, but like oh, she's okay about it now. That's fine. But like the but what was I saying? I've totally lost my track of thought.
The socializing, like we don't
Oh
see
yeah,
with any friends or anything.
she doesn't talk about any friends, and even when other characters talk about her, when like Kira and Jadzia, and like, well, early on when like Kira and Keiko get to have a relationship because of the baby thing, and then her and the O'Briens become like friends, but like, yeah, Cisco and Dax and Worf and stuff, she to them is O'Brien's wife.
Yeah.
Like, and that's how they refer to her when they just go, "Oh, how's Keiko?" And it's like, well, if you were talking to her, you would know. So they obviously aren't really friends with her, they're friends with Miles. And it's that weird dynamic. She never talks about any other friends and stuff. So, like, this is the thing. I kind of just go, like, when we say, "Oh, she's a bitch," or "Oh, she's angry," like, she seems to have a pretty hard time on the station. Like, can I go off on one quickly? Because I wrote something about this.
I mean, I'm never going to stop you going on a tangent, but
But
proceed.
it's not necessarily a tangent, but like we say, she left all of this job and opportunity for the sake of her husband. And then what is her plot from like there? Like, because she just pops up in random episodes, but effectively, she goes to this station, she becomes like a housewife, and then she goes, "Oh, I need purpose." So she sets up a school. She does all of the work that would be involved in setting up a school, starts teaching, and then has to deal with some religious zealot who's trying to sort of shut down everything that she's worked so hard on. And we don't ever talk about the fallout from that, because that's the thing. We talk about her not having any friends on the station and stuff, but also, like, you know what it's like where there's a scandal or something, or someone badmouths you, or someone lies about you, or whatever, and that spreads. And a lot of the time, like we have with like you know, it doesn't matter if like slander goes to court and you get proved innocent or something like that. There's always that little thing in people's minds of
It's
going,
always
"Oh, yeah,
going to be there.
yeah, that
Even if
happens."
even if it's proved completely false,
Yeah.
the thought or the notion the seed is planted.
Yeah, and so we have it where all these Bajorans on the station, like the religious Bajorans, were quite happy to hate on Keiko and like support Vedic Win. And then after Vedic Win turns out to be like a dickhead and she was lying and it was all like a planned assassination attempt and stuff, what happens? Like, I don't think that the Bajorans change their opinion. I think so. She's on this station, no friends, no family. Like Data, even though her parents are apparently still alive, Data has to be the father of the bride for a wedding, and you're just sitting there being like, okay. And then she, like going around the promenade or whatever, she's probably getting loads of side eye from all these Bajorans being like, oh, that's the one who's like a heathen, that's the one who's like trying to, corrupt our kids or whatever. And I don't know, there's just something about that where I just kind of go, how suffocating her life on DS9 must have
How
been.
isolating it would have been as
Yeah.
well. Especially after the season 1 finale, like where she was treated as a pariah for that episode, and that is something that you don't get over easily. And what we see at the end of the episode is that there is no resolution to what had happened. There is no, their opinions
Do
change
people
or any.
apologize to Keiko?
Yeah, the opinions stay the same. And yeah, Samuel, there again, is that not the plight of a military wife? And you're
Yeah.
thinking, yeah, she is heavily isolated, and every time, like she tries to make a difference, she tries to be useful, but we don't see her being friends with anyone else on the station. And it could have been a good opportunity if she was a main character. If her and Miles were going to be like the depiction of perfect family life or imperfect family life, we could have seen her socializing more with the people on the station. They could have used it as an opportunity, even if she wasn't main in the first season and she became main in the second season. After the issues of the finale episode, we could have seen her building those bonds, building a life for herself in a place, essentially like, the worst place for a botanist to build a life is a barren space station with no arboreal life. Like, how can, and it would have been a great allegory to go, even in the harshest of environments, something can grow and blossom.
Yeah. And I love that, like, referring to her as a military wife, because that's it. It's the fact of we have all of these, throughout wartime and stuff, we have all of these, like, women and even husbands who have to just be like, yep, you're moving again, and you best work out how to like it. And, oh, you don't like everyone, people around here don't like you, you don't like them or whatever, but you just have to deal with it. And we get to kind of see that, like, where she doesn't like it. She doesn't get, she doesn't deal with it that well. And then we see like her attempts to sort of get around that kind of constantly stifled, where every time she tries something new, so it's good that she does get to go back to botany. She does get to go, hey, cool. Actually, you know what? I'm going to be gone for a couple of months doing like an expedition, doing like a study of like Bajor's moons and stuff like that. And I really like that for her.
It's the
Even
sacrifices that she's
yeah,
made for Miles, because obviously she's introduced to Miles by Data in the next generation. We find out that they spend some time on Earth, but obviously she's on the Enterprise and she's studying botany, and they get married, and she sacrifices that to go to DS9, and she's made a lot of sacrifices for Miles in his career. But again, going back to what I said earlier, the modern marriage, where it's like, it's not always about his life, it's not always about what he wants. I have wants, I have needs, I have desires, and I feel I should pursue them, and this is what she does. And she's a great role model, I would say, for women in the 90s to go, yeah, you can be married, you can have a family, but there is also nothing stopping you from fulfilling your aspirations, your desires for a career, or studies, or your passions, embracing your passions. You don't have to be, oh well, I was doing this and now I've found a man and now I'm married and now we've got a family and that's all I do now. But she shows that it's tough.
You have to keep moving around.
She shows that it is tough, that it does require a lot of sacrifice, but it can be achievable. And this is what we see in the episode. She can have a family, she can study, her dream subject, and she can have a fulfilling career. But again, it's not all to paraphrase The Simpsons, it is not all smile and sunshine. There is sacrifice that comes with chasing your dreams and everything like that. And it means leaving Miles and leaving their, does she take Molly with her on the studies?
Like every time she has to take Molly with her. So she kind of goes from like going, oh cool, in order to do the thing that I want to do, I still have to be a mother for her, that, which is a testament to her. Like it's not sort of, well, I think the thing is, originally she has like a couple of days away for like a survey, but then her and Molly move away because the Dominion War starts. So because
Yeah.
things get dangerous on the station, they have to go away to be like safe. But then later on, it is literally she's like, "Hey, I've got a job now, and we're doing all of this, and we're doing all of that and stuff." So it is pretty good. Here's an interesting one, a hypothetical scenario in the chat. So Keiko dies in Way of the Warrior or Call to Arms. What happens to Miles? How do you think it would affect his character?
Devastated. Miles, I mean, it's evident he loves Keiko
Yeah,
with everything that he has, and he would do everything for Keiko and Molly, and his family as a whole. Um, I think it would have. We know Miles has a hard time, especially in the run of
he has a whole
DS9.
episode
He
called
has
Hard
a
Time.
oh yeah yeah yeah. But this, I think it would have fundamentally changed Miles, and it would have finished him off, so to speak. And I
I
think
think he would have probably turned to the drink or something. I think he would have
yeah.
become a much more grizzled because we get to see touches of Miles when we go. He is a person who's capable of bitterness. He's a person who's capable of anger and resentment. Like the way he reacts to the Cardassians and stuff in TNG, what the wounded in TNG, where you can see that he is literally like, "Yep, I hate them, but like, but we're meant to change our opinion now and stuff." And I think he would have very much changed as a character because and it's a testament to Keiko of, when we say, "Oh, she's a horrible person and she treats Miles like rubbish or whatever," but it's the fact of going, but like Molly and Yoshi are great. Like they are really happy kids. There's not one plot that's about the kids being unhappy or being mistreated or anything like that. Like the closest we have is obviously when Molly goes through a time portal and becomes like, becomes feral and stuff like that. But that's not really bad parenting necessarily. It's not like they went out for tapas or something. But it's
Oh, they never
they
visited
just
Portugal. They
they
never visited 24th century Portugal. No, they never did. The,
moving on from
there
that.
were some parents in the 24th century still trying to sell their books. But we cancelled.
Controversial tangent.
Controversial, but true. But yeah, I mean, I agree. She is a Swiss Army knife, but I do think that I would have loved to have seen more. I genuinely thought she was in more episodes. I thought, especially in DS9, with 170 plus episodes, I was like, oh, she must be at least in every other episode of DS9.
Yeah.
And then you just go, no. And then especially in season 7, where it's just one episode that
Yeah,
she
well,
is in, and that's right at the end.
she gets one episode in 6, no, one episode in 5, one episode in 6, and one episode in 7, I think. And I think a 7 is literally the beginning of the final two-parter, and I think it's just her being like, "Are you going to tell Bashir that we're moving to Earth?" Like,
Let
and I think
me
that's it.
have a look.
But
She's
but
in.
like,
Wow,
but
yeah.
and I think
Time's
some of
often,
them.
and then what you leave behind.
Yeah, like that's it. She's literally, but then with some of her episodes as well, like we talk about her not being in many episodes, and then some of them she's in them and she doesn't do anything. Like I forgot what it is, but the really silly one with Rumpelstiltskin, where Molly dreams up
Oh, if wishes were
Rumpelstiltskin.
horses.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I didn't rewatch that one, obviously, because limited time and it's rubbish. But like the, I'm pretty sure she just kind of just yeah, goes, "Oh my God, what's happening with Molly?" And that's it. Like it's, she's there to react to what's happening, and that's basically her
It's a quick
involvement in the whole
paycheck.
thing.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
quick
which is
paycheck
good.
for.
Good for Roslyn Chow, but like for the rest of us who are like want depth. But on the back of Samuel's question, like if see, I'm putting a theory together in my head, but I want to see what you come up with. But like if Keiko is in more, what would you want her to do? Like how would you fit her in to the show more if she was a main character?
I think. Keiko would have been a great example of family life aboard the station. And I know we get it with Cisco and Jake, and we get it with Cisco, Jake, and Cassidy in the later seasons. What we see is like in this era of the 24th century, where there's like families aboard starships and families aboard space stations, and you don't have to fly all the way home to Earth to see your beautiful wife. She's right here. And I would have loved to have seen sort of like the blossoming of Keiko O'Brien, like basically
that's an episode title.
The blossoming of Keiko.
The blossoming of Keiko O'Brien.
That's my upcoming novella.
That's your straight to Amazon, like print on demand novel.
First of all, that hurts. Second of all, bold of you to assume I can write. What I would love to have seen is Keiko being used as quite rightly Samuel has said there. She comes in as the military wife. She comes in isolated, alone. She's far away from home, no family or anything like that. I would have loved to have seen them highlight that Keiko is ultimately alone, that all she has is her husband and her daughter at the time, and that she feels so she starts to teach. But teaching is good, but again, she doesn't have anyone her own age to interact with. She's talking to kids. She feels like, she's going to these dinners with the commanders and stuff like that, but she doesn't feel like she's fitting in. And what I would have loved to have seen, and it was mentioned in the Hands of the Prophets, the season finale of season 1 of DS9, where the Bajoran and the Starfleet crew don't really interact well at the time. She could have been a spearhead for that. She could have been a spearhead where she becomes friends with, with a group of Bajorans. She helps them plant Bajoran plants across the station. There could have been like a bonding. She could have, with her work with the Bajorans from a botany sense or whatever, but she's interacting with them more. Like the only person who, because Odo effectively is a Bajoran on the station, because he interacts with Starfleet, but he's basically all of his deputies are Bajoran and whatnot. Yeah. But she could have become the ambassador between the station and Bajor in terms of bridging the gap between going, she could have leaned into the whole, hey, I got made into a pariah because I wasn't, embracing Bajoran spiritual beliefs and stuff like that. So maybe she leans into it, and maybe she then becomes she converts to being Bajoran in terms of religion and whatnot. And would have been interesting.
And there's loads of interactions between her and stuff like that. Maybe she could have had a long-running issue with Kai Wynn.
It could have been her adoption of Bajoran faith through interacting with Bajorans, or even having a encounter with the orb or something like that. Yeah. But just I think more basic. Just building friendships on the station, being alone. They could have done a scene where Miles goes to the episode where she's trimming what's those small little bonsai trees, and she's trimming that, and she gets bored, so she decides to take a walk along.
She starts cutting other things.
She starts. It's
a bloodbath.
She starts cutting people, but and then the bloodlust begins. But that one there where she's dissecting a human. But what we could have seen is she just goes for a walk. She needs to get out. She goes for exactly that's the bloodlust there. Yeah. She goes for a walk on the promenade, and she doesn't know who to speak to. She doesn't know who to talk to. She sees all these people talking, and then just gets talking to a Bajoran man, a Bajoran woman, or something like that. And then over time, they didn't even have to make it a major thing. It could have just been once or twice in an episode or every other episode.
Subtle little nods, which is what DS9 does well.
We see with Garak and Bashir.
yeah, we're going to plant the seed in one episode and then build on it in other episodes. And then before you know it, you're like, oh, yeah, we've come really far with it. Like with Kira and Odo and
And
stuff.
then
Like all those little, oh, yeah, the little nods and winks and stuff. And then you're like, oh, yeah, that turned into something great.
But then she could have turned into a pivotal role where they could have had, like, obviously there was the division between the Starfleet officers and the Bajoran militia. And then Keiko goes, oh, well, no, it's not because of that. It's because this person has got, it's a religious holiday. That's why they're not in. Or this person has got this and stuff like that. And they're like, well, how do you know that? And she's like, I talk to them, I interact with them, I socialize with them.
Well,
And
this is the thing, because we have Kira, who is meant to be the representative of the Bajorans in the show, but then Kira herself is kind of isolated, where we kind of go like, oh, the only people that Kira knows are all of her old sort of like resistance friends, and a lot of them are dead. Like she doesn't seem to get on well with just normal Bajorans on the station or the planet.
yeah,
Like, like her only real interactions that we see and her only friends and stuff we see are like with Vedics, like Bareil and stuff, and like her old resistance buddies. So Keiko could actually be that more sort of like, hey, I didn't go through all of the shit that you went through, but I can kind of like be a bridge there. But you know what though? You know what direction I would take it in?
mm,
I would take it. This is just me being insane speculating, and people are probably going to hate this. But the big change I would make to make Keiko O'Brien, if we had to write her as a main character and include her in a lot, I would make the Jem'Hadar plant-based. I would make it the Dominion. Like I'm kind of serious about this, but I would make it where basically they they can't deal with them on a biological level, so they need actual botanists and stuff to do it. I would find a way to do that, and then somehow Keiko O'Brien has to work with Bashir and stuff to actually defeat the Dominion. And that would explain why they only live for a limited amount of time. It would explain, I don't know.
the
I'm not saying it's
founders
a good
discovered
idea.
corn, and
Yeah, the founders
therefore
are just like, oh my God. They start off with those little crest heads where you get like a hedgehog and the crest grows out of it. That becomes like a
a
Jem'Hadar.
chia pet. A goddamn
That's all the
chia
Jem'Hadar.
pet.
They are just chia pets, you know?
The Jem'Hadar are either chia pets or lettuce, according to Science Officer Synoiz.
That's
and
it
only
from the chat. Groot Jem'Hadar. Kids would have loved it. Think of the
Jem'Hadar.
toys, the
Oh
merch.
Jesus Christ! Where did this all go wrong? The only person that can defeat them is a botanist. I love it.
That's it. We don't need doctors. We don't need warlords.
We don't need
need a
phasers. We
botanist.
just need pruning shears.
Yeah, and Keiko's like, finally, my time has come.
The cloning labs is just Miracle Grow.
It's just a garden. She bursts in with a flamethrower in the final episode. Take that, Plant Wayoon. That was our last Plant Wayoon because I didn't take any clippings. Okay, so admittedly, the more we're
Even the
talking about this,
seedlings.
the more Keiko left nothing spared, nothing. But yeah, the more we talk about this, the more I'm realizing it was a terrible idea, and I'm sorry to introduce it to the universe. But
I kind of like it. I kind of want to do like beta
it sounds
canon.
really silly. It sounds really silly, but I think I would have done something like that, where for some reason, in terms of the war, they needed a botanist. Because obviously we get loads of stuff
Like how
but
they
you know
fabricate Ketracel White or something like that, where it's a
stuff
botany
like that, where
base.
we're
Yeah.
like, hey, this is a weird sort of compound. Is there anything we can do with it? And it turns out that Bashir's like, I can't do anything of this. And Dax is like, this science is weird. And it turns out that actually it's because it's this.
It's just liquid cocaine.
And Keiko's like, well, I'm an addict.
She's like,
Life is boring as a housewife.
get me a plant and some unleaded petrol.
Opium. That's it.
Oh God, that would be
That's it.
hilarious.
Keiko becomes a drug lord. Okay, so she, that's that's another one.
We are leaning into the conspiracy. Let's just rein it back.
Okay, we'll save it for next week.
We'll pull it back. So, Miles, obviously, with Miles, we joke about how Miles is the long suffering husband of Keiko, but at the end of the day, he wouldn't do anything unless he had nothing but love for Keiko. Like, I think he's long suffering, but I think he's long suffering because he feels guilt. He feels guilt for dragging his family to DS9, and even in the earlier episodes, he tries to paint it in a good light. Even with the quarters being so dark, oh, we can do this, and we can put drapes up, and Windoline or something like that. And we can zhuzh it up and stuff like that. I think he's suffering because, as we know about Miles, he is long suffering in everything that he does. But I think when it comes to Keiko, I feel he thinks he's punching well above his weight. Keiko is fantastically out of his league. She is a gorgeous woman, let's be honest. And I think he feels guilt. Like, she has had to sacrifice her dreams, her aspirations to be with him. And then when we see the opportunity that she has to go to Bejor, like, he encourages her to go. He's not happy about it. He's devastated about it, but he encourages her to go. And it is the mark of a good husband, flaws and all, but it is the mark of a good husband, where he understands that she has her own dreams and aspirations as well.
He tries to help, like, even because obviously in the first episode, like, I think it's episode 4 that she's in. It's the one, I think it's the one where it's the one where Odo is framed for murder. But in that one, A Man Alone,
yeah.
And in that one, even then, he's suggesting stuff of going, oh well, we could do this, and she kind of doesn't want to hear it. She's kind of like, no, I just. Like, she's being a bit difficult, but it's understandable. And
but we've all been there. I think
that's it. Yeah. That's what a relationship is, though. And I wonder if a lot of the sort of, where as we've got older watching Star Trek, we've kind of realized how realistic the relationship between them is.
Oh,
where,
God,
like,
yeah.
As a partner, as a wife, you do have the right to kind of say, hey, you're not going to the gym as much as you used to. It's that whole thing of, you are allowed to, you are a bit like, hey, maybe we should start eating some healthy things, or like.
Hang on. Let's pull this over for a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
To quote Synoiz, I feel this is a targeted comment. Hey, you're not going to the gym as much. Wow.
But you know what I mean? Like, loads of people attack Keiko because I think it's one of the later episodes. I think it's the one where, I think it is the Times Orphan, where Keiko literally just kind of goes like, "What are you eating? You've got really chunky," and it's like, And
isn't it when they're trying, like, she's trying to get it? Oh, is it in the Next Generation?
The Next Generation, as soon as they move in, she's like, "Look, Japanese food," and he's like, "This isn't potatoes." Effectively.
Yes, thank you, Star Trek, for another Irish stereotype.
It is as well. I'm pretty sure what he makes her, because if I remember correctly, because I did watch that one, she goes, "Hey, he has like kelp eggs or something," and he's like, "Okay, that's awful," and so it got me like. But this is the thing, though. We even get other bits where she's like kind of trying to push that food on Miles, and as as a wife, you could understand it of being like, "Hey, this is really good for you. You might not like it, but you might learn to like it. So let's try." I mean, we get the episode Cardassians. What's it called? Rugal? Yeah, where the
Rugal.
Cardassian kid orphan who's been brought up by Bajoran parents. And I remember the thing that I always, whenever I watch DS9, I always go, "What a fucking bitch," pardon my language, when she's like trying to push Cardassian food on him. When she must have been told, "Hey, here's the situation. He's Cardassian, but he's been brought up on Bajor. He probably doesn't want to go back to Cardassia." And then she comes along being sort of like, "Oh, I made lots of nice Cardassian food for you." And he's just like, You what? Like, and she kind of tries to force it. But then I think behind that, there is that kind of school teacher kind of, or mother kind of way of going, don't know how to break this to your kid, but you might need to get used to this. So maybe give it a go. And it's really nice.
She does it in that
how,
very mother teacher way.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's in that kind of like sort of, the aeroplane thing with a kid where you're like, oh, look at the baby food. Ooh, I'll try it. It's really nice. You should try it. And it feels like that kind of scene of her being like, I do not know this situation at all. This is a bit above me for my involvement, but I'm gonna try and help and go, hey, look, Cardassians aren't that bad. Look, this food is nice.
Nom nom
And
nom
it's
nom nom.
and it's handled badly. Like it's that thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things of like the more I watch it, the more I kind of go, I can get someone doing that, rather than her just being like, "Hey, kid, heard you hate Cardassian stuff, so here's some blue jumbo meat or whatever it is."
The thing is though, like with all the jokes, I'm incredibly thankful that we got more out of O'Brien, and he got married, he had a family in the next generation, because without that development of O'Brien's character, we wouldn't have one of the greatest members of Starfleet of all time. And he is, not to take away from Keiko O'Brien, but Miles O'Brien is one of the all-time great characters of Star Trek, and I mean, he goes through a lot. Like there is a memoir waiting. There is an I tell you what, right? Where is it? I've got
a list of O'Brien's
I've got an autobiography for the plane. All right, so
Okay.
Synoiz has seen this. It's the
Is it Cisco's diary where he's just like, woke up today, made life hard for O'Brien?
It's the autobiography of Cisco. As you can see, there is the image of him not regretting killing the Romulans. But I would love to see the autobiography of Miles O'Brien, because it would be a lot thicker than this. Let me tell you.
Made to eat seaweed today. All I want's my potatoes.
All I want is another 100 years in mine jail. But without these tiny little character developments that they did in the Next Generation, we wouldn't have these dynamics. And yes, we would have loved to have seen more of this dynamic and more of Keiko O'Brien and family life and developing herself and her skills and her relationships on the station, because let's be honest, she gets nothing with other people, and it's sad in a way, because she could have been a spearhead.
Peace, Love, and Star Trek mentioned in the chat that she does mention the Petersons.
Yeah,
I think, like, she does
but
say,
it's
"Oh,
off camera.
Molly's like being looked after by the Petersons." I'd forgotten about that, but it does suggest that she has outside relationships.
But it's off
We don't ever see
camera.
it. Yeah, like, who are the Petersons?
It's like, hey,
are they
only
even
here.
friends, or is she having to pay them?
It's like, yeah, you are only here to prop up Miles. You are only here as a character enhancer for Miles, and even when you are having a baby, you are not having a baby. You are the cook in your own pregnancy. And it's awful, because we joke about how Miles is the long-suffering character, but it is Keiko. She is the true long-suffering character of DS9.
And I think we miss out on.
Everyone knows the Petersons.
Everyone knows. Okay, we're in the wrong.
Do you, Adam? Do you know the Petersons? Are they
I
in
love
the
the idea
chat?
of that being a whole other show of like Star Trek, the Petersons, and it's just them doing random stuff on DS9.
No, they're the most basic bitch family as well.
You know who I decided in my mind canon now. Is it season 1? And it's when I think it's A Man Alone, where Nog and Jake finally sort of get to know each other, and they play that trick on the Bajoran couple where they make them change color. that's the Petersons in my mind. Can't.
What a strangely human name that this Bajoran family has adopted. The Petersons.
How would that be though? In terms, because the Bajoran names go the other way around, wouldn't it? So his name is like
Peterson John.
Peterson. That. I don't know if that sounds like a sex act. Peterson.
The Peterson John.
Yeah, that's it.
Urban Dictionary.
$10 if you can get a Peterson John.
Oh, I know what we're doing in Vegas.
Peterson Stubbs. That sounds a bit like a pirate, actually. But
can we do a tannoy announcement in Las Vegas? I'm looking for a Peterson John. Peterson John. This one Bajoran is like,
hey! Just turning multiple colours because it hasn't worn off.
By the way, oh my god. The scene, there was a scene in The Hands of the Prophets where O'Brien has to obviously go down to the promenade to find out and he just goes promenade, and I sat down and I just went promenade. It's becoming instinctual now. Every time I hear it, I'm just like promenade.
I'm so glad we got to do that episode with Ducat.
I dare you to shout it on the plane. I dare you. In the toilet.
On the promenade!
On the toilet cubicle. Just nothing but engine noise, and all you hear is promenade.
I am desperately trying to get into America, so I don't want to jeopardize it in the slightest. But I think I've forgotten the point I was going to try and
Suffering.
make here. What's
Suffering.
the chat doing? As wife of 38 years, I can attest to the fact that the wife suffers when the husband suffers. Yeah. But I think there's so many sort of episodes we could have done with Keiko because
Miles O'Brien.
3 miles.
3 Miles O'Brien.
Oh my word!
That's our new T-shirt. Making a note.
3 Miles O'Brien. Miles, but yeah.
For those, can I just hang on? I have to say this. Computer, take us to main screen mode.
Oh.
Hello, I have a hat. For those going to STLV, you will get a copy of our rather swanky business cards, and on the back of them, there is I know it's blurry. There is going to be some delicious L cards. There's a QR code and some delicious L cards. If you pay close attention, you may find a secret message.
Don't tell them the secret.
You may find a secret message.
Secret.
Anyway, computer, take us back to the other bit. There we go.
Yes, there we go. Apparently, John Peterson can get me into the US.
Just ask John. No, Peterson John. Peterson John. He's Bajoran.
Yeah.
He's Bajoran.
Maybe Peterson is actually his first, like his sort of, not his family name, but then also his wife is her.
Can we check his
normal
par?
name is Peterson.
Do they have to check his par upon entry as well?
What do we mean by entry? Anyway, but no, the thing I want to talk about is like the episodes that we would have done with Keiko is I would have done loads about I forgot the episode, but it's where O'Brien talks about how whenever they go on a dangerous mission, he has to leave like a video for his wife and family. Like all of them do, because I think Dax talks about it as well.
Oh, it's in the Dominion War.
Yeah, and Miles is kind of like going, yep, every single time I record a video for Keiko and Molly, but I get scared that this is going to be the time when they actually have to watch it and stuff. Yeah. But then it's the idea of going, what's the flip side of that? From Keiko's point of view, she's just like, whoa, I guess I'm a widow now. Like, because she actually gets to be a widow. Like, it's the sort of thing of like, because we don't talk about it where those videos and stuff, but we genuinely get the episode, what is it? The mentioned before, Armageddon game.
Armageddon game, yeah.
Where this is biggest Cisco dickhead moment, basically, is that like, Miles O'Brien and Dr. Bashir are thought dead because they get sent footage going, hey, there was an accident on the planet that they were working on and they both died, kind of thing. And then Cisco has to go to Keiko and break the news and effectively just goes, yeah, so Miles and Bashir's Bashir are dead. Here's a video of it, which you can watch at your leisure. And yeah, and the funeral's next week. Have fun. And then
Have
obviously he,
fun.
well, then he buggers off because he's probably got to like go through all of like Bashir's like space grinder contacts and inform them of the bad news, Like, but just the idea of like Keiko is the only character in all of DS9 that has to watch one of those "Guess I'm Dead" videos, as well as the actual footage of O'Brien getting killed. And we're kind of going, that feels like a plot that we should go into. That feels like a sort of, hey, could we follow up on this?
Yeah, so we've had the
Can we
military
follow up
wife
on her
aspect,
getting
military
possessed?
widow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like, it's this idea of like that episode, and you know how we talk about on the show where we talk about what if we made this a two-parter? I don't think we could make Armageddon Game a two-parter, but I definitely think we could have an episode from Keiko's perspective where it's like, oh, O'Brien's been killed again, or we suspect he's killed, and then it's following her around with just the whole like, whoa, what do I do with this? Like,
Because you have to, like, I would have loved to have seen her perspective during the Dominion War when they're going off to battle in the Defiant, and how exhausting it must be to prepare for the worst, because you have to prepare for the worst, because there is stop laughing, that's not
I'm
funny.
laughing. I'm just laughing at Transporter Room in the chat being like they'll be able to find us in Vegas by the two nutters yelling promenade in the hallway.
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
much.
Like, yeah, that's pretty much our MO. What do you mean declined? But we have to be on our best behavior. Remember, but
I'm sending positive vibes for this.
no, just at least take the batteries out this time. But that was a joke, everybody. Thank you for the laugh. But to see the point of view of an exhausted military wife constantly preparing for the worst, because at the end of the day, at this point, she's quite literally dating a soldier, and just having that conversation with Molly about explaining that the eventuality that their father may not be coming back from this, and how
That is
harrowing
a plot of an episode.
that it would be harrowing to watch. You've seen this happy family. However, in times of war, Keiko has to do the duty of, your father is fighting the bad guys, and one day he may not come home, and we have to be prepared for that. And it's never a conversation the parent wants with their child, but unfortunately, in times of war, it is something that you have to. And it's not saying that you have to give up hope.
How bittersweet it would be to be like, oh, now you don't need to be on DS9 anymore, and you can go and like do your old career and do all of that. But
Molly Peterson.
Molly Peterson. I love that even Peace, Love, and Star Trek isn't sure whether they're called Peterson, but we've
apologies,
just rolled with it.
Peterson Molly.
Peterson Molly. We've created a new thing now.
They are prophet. They are prophet father. They have a prophet father, not a godfather. Prophet father.
but that's the thing. Like like Peace, Love, and Star Trek mentions in the chat, in that episode in Armageddon Game, like Miles gets saved because Keiko basically she watches this footage of him dying, and then just goes, hang on, something's wrong there. And then she points out that Miles doesn't drink coffee in the afternoon, so the footage must be doctored. And then they look into it more and they realize, oh, actually, it has been doctored. And then the whole thing kind of unravels and stuff like that. And they end up going there and then saving their life. And then the gag at the end of the episode is O'Brien being like, oh, no, I totally drink coffee in the afternoon. So it's basically she actually made a mistake. She doesn't know him that well, and it's played for laughs. But effectively, though, imagine an episode where it's the same scenario and she's just desperately trying to find where they talk about the stages of grief and all of the sort of different things you go through.
Acceptance, denial, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then denial. we're just having her being like, no, he can't be dead because he's drinking coffee. Yeah, he never drinks coffee. Okay, cool. And then she's clutching onto this and she's trying to make people believe her and stuff. And maybe it's a harder sell for her to kind of go to
Oh God,
Cisco and go, hey, cool.
that would have been
Like
harrowing.
you could make it a much bigger deal of it and then have it where she goes through all of the stages of grief and stuff like that. And then he appears at the end. Like, then it turns
Yeah.
out that it's not actually that. Like, I think you could make a really powerful episode around that plot, which is effectively because she's not a main character, just a little extra, oh yeah, like a little scene with her going, oh yeah, he doesn't drink coffee, you know.
God, it would have been. I mean, like I said, right, like this is what we mentioned earlier. There were so many wasted opportunities with Keiko to explore her and explore her interests, explore her talents, her skills, and explore the family life of the O'Briens more. And I know we do get it in Time's Orphan and stuff like that, but that's one episode. That
Yeah.
is one episode, and we could have had so much more.
Well, think about like how because what I would have done in a way because she basically has the same kind of thing when she gets possessed. It's kind of the same thing as Best of Both Worlds in regards to Picard, where she gets possessed and against her will she has to act against the people she loves, and she like puts them all in danger. Obviously not on the scale of, like Locutus and stuff, but surely we can explore the fallout of that. Like that
Just
must be the
doesn't get
PTSD from that
mentioned.
event, and it
Yeah.
never gets same way as like Picard's just like, oh yeah, I roll around in the mud with my brother, fine, I'm better now. But like, but with Keiko, like, and maybe we could make it where she's like, maybe she actually got the memories of the the Par Wraith or something, and then she actually helps in the actual Dominion War with the knowledge that she has of like stuff like that. Like I think there's things that you could have done with it, but it does seem a bit weird where she's just like, yep. Like it's like Hard Time, where after Hard Time, Miles is like, yeah, I'm better now. Spent 10 years in mind prison, but next episode, yeah,
I think this was
chipper
a,
again.
but this was a flaw with Star Trek at the time where they, it was like the episode of the week. Lower Decks highlighted this where, right, the Enterprise goes to this planet and they deal with a problem. Oh well, it's your problem now. Woof, and we're off to the next
Yeah,
one.
hands off.
And then when you see in Lower Decks where they go back to like the planet with that had a drug issue because the other planet was supplying the drug, and
Yeah.
you see the fault, like you see they go back and they go, oh well, actually the planet that was receiving this drug and are totally addicted to it, they managed to get over that. They managed to enlighten themselves and be stronger and better. And then the actual planet that was supplying it has been taken over by the Breen and stuff like that. Like seeing the repercussions and stuff. And I think this is a fundamental flaw of Star Trek as a whole, is not dealing with the consequences of that episode in that week. And I think DS9 really missed an opportunity because they did so many things so well. But like you said, like, oh, she's possessed by pirates. Oh, well, I'm all right now. Molly! And it's like, but
I
there could
just
have
can't
been
believe how-
lingering. There could have been
Yeah.
lingering effects. There could have been flashbacks. She could have had trouble sleeping because her memories are melding into the memories of the Par Wraith. She's seeing things from the Par Wraith's past, and she gets these like emotions that she can't control or urges that she can't control and
You
stuff
gotta
like
think,
that.
like, because while we do get other people who get possessed by whatever the prophets are, like, because obviously we've got, I've forgotten the episode's called. It's the Judgment episode where we have like Kira gets possessed by a prophet, Jake gets possessed by a Par Wraith, and then they have the ultimate battle, and then it gets called off effectively. But like in that battle, neither of them seem to have any repercussions. Like Jake is
No,
like, "Oh, I'm fine. I was possessed by an ultimate evil creature, and now I'm kind of fine." But the Par Wraith leaves Jake.
yeah,
But Keiko literally gets in her episode, it gets destroyed within her. So I kind of just go, maybe there's a thing there, like because it literally gets destroyed. Like it doesn't just escape. So maybe it's still in her somehow, kind
We,
of
we
thing.
all we all know what truly happened.
Well,
The
that's it. That's
the
that's why they got to
Parith
this. Is like, was she really possessed?
the
Like, or
Parith saw the true evil within and went, I cannot compete with this.
they just left.
I must join with it. I must meld with it. And we'll find out more about that next week. But anyway, moving on. We have been talking about Keiko for nearly 90 minutes so far. This is insane.
That is, I, I love how the whole chat is just talking about what plants she's growing. It
Oh,
looked
we
like
know what plant she's
strawberries,
growing.
then it looked like a bonsai tree, and then there's an episode, yeah, it is the possession one where they kill off her bonsai trees accidentally. Oh
Do
yeah,
you?
okay. Yeah, wait, here's a Samuel Bracken. Here's one for you boys. Could Kurtzman era write O'Brien and Keiko as well as Berman era, or would it be different?
Hmm. I don't think they would have been able to. Okay, hear me out on this one. I don't think they could have written it the way that they written it in the 90s. But what I do believe is they would have touched upon the things that we have discussed tonight, where they would have delved into her life a lot more and the repercussions of certain things like the Parith possession, like her isolation on the station. I do believe they would have explored it because New Trek is far more emotive when you compare it to Trek of the Golden Era. It's you can't avoid that. It's way more emotive. You know, they express their emotions a lot more. Some say to the detriment of the show. Some say to the betterment. Whatever you think, that's your opinion.
Sometimes it strikes a good balance, but
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, this is a bit much, you know?
I think it would have. I think they would have reflected it so very much like DS9 did in the 90s in reflecting a modern marriage of that era. I think they could have reflected a modern marriage of this era, but I think they would have explored Keiko a hell of a lot more. However, what you
Yeah.
have to realize is New Trek has very limited episodes per season, so the time constraints
Yeah.
on delving into characters such as Keiko O'Brien are very limited. If they had 22 episodes, absolutely. They just don't. And you have to think that these side characters don't get the limelight that they used to do. I mean, look at the side characters that we had in the 90s. You know, you had like Rom, you had Morn, you had Keiko, you had Garak, shall we say, as a side
Morn
character.
a side character?
Morn is a
Like,
side character, whether you like it or
really?
not. He had a script, Synoiz. He had a script and they decided to omit it. He was a side character. So, but it would have. I will defend anyone.
Justice for Morn.
Justice for Morn. We need more hardcore Morn. But I think if it was in an ideal world and they were like, hey, it's 20 episodes of Star Trek per season, yes, they absolutely could have done it and it could have been more emotive. Not as in the way that they did it in the 90s, but I think they would have given it a good old try. I just think the limitations of modern streaming TV in Hollywood, which is an absolute, to quote a friend, effing dumpster fire at the moment. It needs to change, but it needs to change.
I think to answer the question of what Kurtzman era and Berman era would be like for Keiko and Miles, I I'm a fan of Kurtzman era. I'm big fan of Lower Decks, big fan of Strange New Worlds. I really liked bits of Starfleet Academy. Section 31 is a dumpster fire and should be destroyed. But, and Discovery, let's not talk about that. But it's the idea of like, I think the problem is we hit the nail on the head exactly here. If you were to go, hey, what's like Cisco would be like in Kurtzman era? And I'm like, I don't think he changed that much or whatever.
No.
I think The problem is, like you say, Kurtzman era is very emotive, where they latch on stuff and they go, "How can we make this dramatic? How can we make this a bigger sort of impact than it is?" You know how it's like, it's not just like, "Oh, a family's in danger." It's like, "No, no, the planet is in danger. Oh no, the galaxy is in danger." You know, it's always big scale stuff. It's never just like, "No, no, a family being in danger is just as scary." Like, I don't know why that needs to be a different thing. I think that the idea of Keiko and her kids, like Molly and Yoshi, would be too much of a tempting target in Kurtzman. I think it would literally be episode two, Molly's kidnapped, so Keiko's constantly crying and constantly sort of like beside herself and stuff like that. And it's all this, oh my God, what are we going to do and stuff. And I think it would just, I think we'd lose a lot of the nuance that we get of just her being bored on a space station, her like going, "Hey, I'm going to become a teacher, I'm going to do that." I think it would genuinely be like, "Oh, something's happened to the kids again," and like we never get that with Keiko and stuff. We like Yoshi basically. I think the only danger that happens with Yoshi is he gets babysat by Worf. Like there's literally he learns what is it, gong gong gong, and then bashes his head against the table. I think that's literally Yoshi's arc in DS9, and then somehow becomes. I looked this up actually. I looked this up. What happens to Molly and Yoshi after DS9? And in Beta Canon and Star Trek Online, Molly graduates Starfleet Academy, and Yoshi become graduates as well and becomes chief engineer of the Enterprise. So you'd like
Yeah.
they turn out pretty well, you know. But I think in Kurtzman Trek, yeah, I think they wouldn't be safe. Every single episode, they'd be have some kind of virus, or they'd be kidnapped, or yeah,
I think, like I said, with Kurtzman era Trek, family dynamics, like
Miles Peterson. No,
my
there's too many Petersons in the chat now.
Star Trek Petersons coming soon. We are venting dry Petersons. But in Kurtzman era Trek, the nuances like you were discussing there, the effects of being bored, the effects of slowly building those relationships are something that you can't do in Kurtzman era Trek, and it's not because of Alex Kurtzman. Before anyone like jumps to that, it's not because of the actors or
That's
anything
the
like
style
that.
they've
It's
moved
the
into.
sheer constraint of episode limitations that doesn't allow you to build characters like Keiko O'Brien and Miles O'Brien. It doesn't give you that breathing room to develop them over a period of like, because if you think like when we had Star Trek in the 90s and the early 2000s, this was Star Trek over a period of 6 months. So you had 6 months of watching these week in, week out, watching these relationships develop, watching these friendships form, and these dynamics, interact with each other. Whereas now you have at best 2 months, 10 episodes, and that's your lot for another year and a half, 2 years, and you have to wait. And it doesn't allow them to blossom. It doesn't allow them to grow into their own. God, there's a lot of plant puns tonight. But it doesn't allow them to grow into their own dynamic. But if you look at it like over the space of 6 months, you've got those episodes to develop those side characters. And unfortunately, I mean, even in Discovery, the side characters get absolutely nothing to
We
do.
said it in our reviews of Starfleet Academy. It was great to see Tilly get to do stuff. Even if
Yeah.
it's just one episode, it was like, oh, we got some character development on Tilly.
It only took
That's been a
it
long
only
time
took
coming.
it only took 5 seasons and the show to be cancelled to get character development on said character. But again, that's what I'm saying. So like we wouldn't have the ability to do that, and it goes back to our innate desire to see Star Trek return. Because I'm going to hold my hands up, guys. It's the 60th anniversary of Star Trek. We have got San Diego Comic-Con next week or this week. I think it's next weekend, okay? And we have got STLV in 2 weeks' time, okay? If we don't get an announcement on a new Star Trek show, in the 60th year,
Hmm.
in the next month or two, right? I'm going to say up until the end of September, if we get no announcement, that is all but confirmation that Star Trek is taking a break. Okay, and it's
Yeah.
going to be put on the shelf for a couple of years, and then they're going to go back. When they do, not if, when they
Yeah.
go back, they highly need to look at longer seasons. This whole streaming obsession of 8 to 10 episodes for a season doesn't work for all TV shows. It may work for some, it doesn't work for all of them. And in the case of Star Trek, in the case of science fiction shows like this, where it's more about the character development, it's more about those relationship dynamics, you need 15 episodes, 20 episodes, because that is where Star Trek thrives. Star Trek builds its worlds on those smaller episodes where there's not a lot of jeopardy, or there is or it's one person in jeopardy or a family in jeopardy. That's where it thrives. That's where the universe is built. And if you look at all the information out there in canon, it comes from episodes like the Armageddon game, like Time's Orphan and stuff like that. That is why we get characters like Keiko O'Brien. That is why we love Keiko O'Brien so much, because we had a show that allowed her, in a limited capacity, to be developed and to thrive in their own way. We do wish we had more, but we are eternally grateful for what we got.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with all of that. Like, and I understand that maybe you can't do longer seasons now because everything's more expensive and unions.
Then don't
And
make it expensive.
it's the
don't
idea of like
throw hundreds of millions of dollars on
Yeah.
special effects when these guys were doing it. What is it? It was 100 million for Starfleet Academy, so that was 10 million per episode. These guys were doing it for $1 million per episode in the 90s. Low tech,
Yeah.
very little CGI, and to this day, right, and this is what's weird, this is what's extremely weird, out of all the Trek that I rewatch this era the most compared to the new era. Not because it's like, oh well, I was a kid and it's nostalgic. It's because it's more engaging, because it's not always flashing lights and CGIs and distractions and stuff like that. It's engaging
it's
stories. Yeah.
Well, it was like last week when we were reviewing Shades of Grey, which is the clip show episode from TNG. Like, we kind of realized reviewing that, and spoilers if you haven't watched our review yet, but it's the fact of the reason it gets terrible is when it moves into a clip show. Whereas we kind of just go, hey, if it just started, because it was done for low budget, because they didn't have any money left. But then we kind of just go, hey, actually, it's a pretty good episode before the clip show thing starts. And they literally used like 3 sets. They had the planet that they decked out, they have like a sick bay, and they have the transporter room. And you're like, yeah, just you could make an entire episode because it's the what people are saying to each other, the interactions between people and stuff, like the actual story that is important to us. It's not how big the sets are or how dramatic. It doesn't matter if we're literally going, hey, we're in 3 rooms this whole episode, because it's, like the best moments of Trek are when we're talking about the interactions between Dukat and Wayun. They're just in a room. When we're talking about sort of like, how Keiko feels about this, yeah, even in like the assignment, like Keiko's best episode, there's nothing. I think there's some special effects at the end of the episode where they shoot the laser at the wormhole,
Yeah.
and that's it. Everything else is just sort of sets they already have, things they're already doing, and the general characters. But I do think that stuff like unions, like you can't make people workloads, because I think I saw an interview where I heard an interview with Rosalind Chow about the reason why she's not in the later seasons is because she has the 2 kids now.
Yeah.
Because the idea is when they have her in, they go, oh, that means we're going to have Molly and Yoshi kind of there. But then because of the union and the laws on child actors and stuff, they're like, oh, we have to jump through hoops if we want them on kind of thing. So I think the writers and stuff were just like, let's not bother. Let's
They
just
backed
say
themselves into a
that.
scheduling corner,
Yeah,
essentially.
they were just kind of like, oh, we need to have two child actors at the same time kind of thing. Okay, that's a faff. Let's just not have them in the episodes. But then they can't really have Keiko without being like, where are your kids? Like so,
Yeah,
the Petersons,
the
they've got
Petersons, Molly or Peterson, as Adam Gordon said. I wonder in 5 to 10 years, there will suddenly be an Uno reverse where instead of 10 episodes, we will go back to 20 episodes because it will suddenly be a novelty for unique, or unique for the next generation. This is the thing. Like it Hollywood at the moment is a state. It is an absolute state, and yet I am still actively pursuing working there. But the design, like the reason why in the 2010s binge watching and streaming became so extremely popular was because people who didn't have the time or didn't have access to the shows that were in the 90s and the early 2000s were finally watching it and binging it constantly. And these were series with 20 episodes or 22 at 26 episodes per season. And this is why you saw this almighty explosion in popularity of DS9 and, more to the point, Star Trek Enterprise. This was like 10 years after it was cancelled that it found a new audience. It grew legs, and it was because there was just 20. There was such a wealth of episodes in there that was so bingeable,
perfect for streaming.
and it was perfect for streaming. And then what happened was Suits got involved in Hollywood. They wanted to throw as much money as possible to attract all kinds of audience. And
it's the peril of all TV, though. The peril
problem
of video games and everything, where they go, let's make it for everyone.
Yeah,
And then it's like, no, let's make this show for Star Trek fans. And if new people become Star Trek fans, that's great.
And
but
the
let's
problem
not try to do everyone.
when the problem when it comes to Paramount is famously clueless when it comes to Star Trek. It never knows what to do. It's only been the people that have helmed it for nigh on 60 years that sort of remotely have a clue what to do. And then what we've seen is, especially with New Trek, is that they go back to that desire again to bring in a new audience, to bring in a more general audience. So they say, well, we have to have this, we have to have dramatic scenes and firefights and crying and blah, 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 blah. And then what we then see is there is sort of like a little bit of a rejection from some segments of the Star Trek community. But then when you bring in people who know how to control Star Trek, know how to write Star Trek, like Terry Matalas, who came back in, season 3 of Picard, it was then one of the best things in New Trek. And then you look at Mike McMahon, who did Lower Decks, and like that, it's widely regarded as one of the best things in New Trek, and then Star Trek Prodigy as well. But Paramount just don't have the clue on how to do it, and the realization that they need to direct Star Trek to a specific niche level of fans is so foreign to them, because the execs, very much like the gaming industry, is like, hey, this needs to make X amount of money more than last year or it's considered a failure. So they throw all this money in, they throw 10 million per episode, they spend 100 million pound per season to do this, and then they go, yeah, but in 3 weeks it only garnered X amount of subscribers. It's cancelled.
It's the fact that everything is judged by profits, not by effect. Like people think that there's a direct correlation between we have more fans because we have more profit. So if more people went to go and see it, that means more people like it. Whereas look at Masters Universe, where that film has not it has not broken even, but if I'd made that, like if I was Amazon and I'm just going, yeah, it costs like 200 million pounds and it hasn't made that back yet. But how many people are talking about this? Like the buzz that it's generated, the amount of people who are like going, hey, we want toys, we want this, we want this. We're like, oh, like generating stuff. I'm like going, that's amazing. Like that's
But here's the
genuinely,
thing.
and we should be going, hey, loads of people are talking about Star Trek, loads of people are enjoying this, and there's all this buzz online and stuff like that. But instead they're going, but we haven't made our money back. And it's like, is that all it's about now?
Yeah. And here's the thing. We go back to the last time we visited STLV in 2024, right? So when we went there, we had just had the series finale of Star Trek Discovery. We had Prodigy that had just finished. We were getting Lower Decks coming up. We were getting new series of Strange New Worlds coming up. And yet, people were still discussing and mostly talking about Picard season 3. They were still going on about that.
The whole conversation was
there was more panels, there was more interviews, there was more buzz around this, because out of everything that's going on, and trust me when I say this, guys, I love all Star Trek. I am eternally grateful, no matter what, that Star Trek is being made. All right, because Star Trek needs to survive. But there was still more buzz. Even to this day, there is still more buzz about Picard and the desire for Star Trek legacy that everything else paled in comparison. And it was because it was like, hey, you've made an opportunity to make something that people wanted. It was well received, and people have an absolute craving for more of this. Are you going to make it? And then the execs just went, no. So and it's infuriating because
and they'll be like,
to go back to what to go back
demand.
Yeah, but to go back
our
to what
marketing teams have said, no one cares about this, and you're just going, but we're telling you, like it's like I don't care what their crazy stats or what poll they put up to 100 people said. It's like.
But this is the thing. This is the thing. On those rare occasions where Paramount actually listens, right? We got Strange New Worlds. So I remember, like, season 2 Discovery had ended. We'd had Anson Mount Me as Captain Pike. He was extremely well received. The whole crew was well received.
Yeah.
It was the highlight of season 2, and straight after that, everyone turned to Paramount and went, are you going to make more of this? Because it's fucking brilliant. Every convention he was asked, I asked him as well, one of my claims to fame, that I was the one that postulated it. But because they listened to the fans, during the pandemic, they announced, we're going to do Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Lo and behold, we get a fantastic series with some of the best episodes of Star Trek ever made. Ad Astra Per Aspera is one of our most favourite episodes on Trekking Up North.
What's
and it
the
wouldn't have
Terrarium
happened.
with Ortegas? That's an incredible.
Terrarium.
We
Those old
finally got an
scientists.
Ortegas episode, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
Those old scientists. And it is controversial, but the musical one is
Subspace Rhapsody.
I listened to that soundtrack more than is possibly.
But this is what happens when they actually take a step. They don't listen to the suits and they go, what do the fans want? And the fans go, we want this. The problem you've got with these companies, not just Paramount, with all of them, the marketing team looks at the response and the fan reaction and the fans' discussion in such a limited scope that they don't see the wider discourse that is out there. They are so laser focused on one thing that they go, well, they just want more Strange New Worlds. They just want this. They just want this. And it's like, no, we've been saying for 3 years we want this. How have you not seen it?
Is they look at the stuff that is most profitable in the world currently, and they go, hey, we've got these things. How can we make these things into those things?
Yeah.
Where they look at it and they go, what do we have that we could turn into Stranger Things? What do we have that we can turn into like this or that kind of thing, rather than being like, oh, this is its own thing and it will succeed in its own merits. But anyway, we've had this rant many times before. We will probably do a full
I'm
episode on it at some
dehydrated
point.
now.
But we are still talking about Keiko O'Brien, and we probably need to wrap it up. But
We
I
do.
I think we need to do a poll because we talked about doing a poll
Yes.
earlier. So for the YouTube viewers, what should the poll be? Can the poll be, has this episode changed your mind about Keiko O'Brien? Because that's what we hope to do. Like with our future sort of biographical episodes, we're going to be talking about them more sort of unbiased. But with this, it was specifically going, hey, can we defend Keiko O'Brien? Because I think she gets a lot of stick.
I mean,
yeah,
we have joked about it for 3 years.
3
But
years, bloody hell.
it I know the therapist is loving it. But we have joked about it, but it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of reverence because she is such an underused character in Star Trek that she deserved her own spotlight. And we wanted so badly to meet her, to share our love of the Keiko character and also introduce her into our world of Keiko and see what she thought, because I think she would have been a good sport about it.
I'd like to think so. Like, but this is the thing that this is what worried me when we realized, because the reason why we're doing this episode is because like there are so many people that actually just immediately dismiss this character that I think, like as we've discussed, has a lot of potential in the show, like, and does a lot with her stuff because yeah, she's like Keiko gets to do everything. Like Keiko, she's only in like 20 odd episodes, but she gets to act, being pregnant and giving birth and getting to be evil and possessed. She gets to be sort of mourning. She gets to be sort of like passionate and a school teacher and all the stuff. Like she pretty much gets to show her full range of things
But
across like DS9.
but speaking of a full range, there is also a Keiko O'Brien action figure, is there not?
It's the if anything was was a testament to like how this is horrible. Like I'm pretty sure someone told me that body is from a different figure. So they literally just made a new head and stuck it on an existing body that they'd already sculpted for a different character.
You know what? When I first saw this, because we went on a hunt, didn't we, when we were in America for this figure?
Well,
I
do have my Keiko O'Brien here, okay? And you can't see it, but on the back, it's got the other characters that were released in this same range, and it's a generic Andorian from the original series, fucking Trelane from the original series,
oh my god,
Kang from DS9 when he comes back, yeah, when he's got his ridges, ooh daddy, and then Intendant Kira from DS9. Like it's literally they got to Keiko when they'd run out of other characters to do. They were like,
what
oh
I
well,
find-
we'll put out a Keiko figure.
what I find interesting about this figure, can you just hold up the back of the box?
Yeah.
The figure is so evil that she refuses to stand on the peg in the center of the combat, which is designed to hold the figure in place. But
you
what
can't peg Keiko.
You-
We all know that. Miles
what-
is the one who can peg.
includes Starfleet thermal bottle. I know. So I'll get to that in a minute.
I love it as well. Like no one gives a shit to the point of what are the items that you get with Keiko. You literally get Starfleet thermal bottle, desktop monitor, Type 2 phaser, and you're like, none of these are items she's ever used before. Like,
she
she
trims
needs a plant.
leaves.
Yeah, she literally needs a plant. Maybe she comes with Molly or something. Like, yeah, it's the epitome
She comes
of
with
just
Molly.
well, like little, like yeah, maybe just Molly, but just gold, where they haven't even bothered to paint her. It's just this little gold baby. You know, it just
What the one thing I
fits in her
noticed,
hands.
the one thing I noticed, right? Well, two things I noticed. First of all, this is Warp Factor Series 4, so Playmates was like, "Is there anything underneath the barrel?" And then they looked at the figure, and then they went, "Right, we need to do a Japanese woman who is quite slim, quite just got an amazing figure. What are we going to do?" And then someone at Playmates just went, "I tell you what, get the Raw Lauren figure, get her a massive gate, and then stick her head on top." That is raw goddamn Lauren with a
We are
bob.
missing the episode where Keiko O'Brien got rickets and thus resulted in this action figure. Like,
No, we are missing the episode where Keiko O'Brien got rickets and tried to infiltrate a Cardassian base,
using
right?
a thermal bloody bottle,
Using a
and
thermal-
Type 2 phaser.
Using a thermal bottle and a black cat suit, right? And a Type 2 phaser.
Well, I just look
really
at
don't get this.
this figure. Literally, it's like they were predicting Empress Giorgio. Like, in terms of, like, she genuinely looks like she should be in Section 31. Like, we're gonna make jokes about it, but it's like next week. But the fact that they just went, yeah, what has Keiko never ever worn in the show? Oh well, she always wears dresses, and there's actually lore points about how she brought longer dresses to DS9 as like a fashion change and stuff. And she's got that red dress she wears. Okay, yeah, we'll dress her up looking like a military agent, like a Black Ops military agent.
Why does it say galactic gear? Why is a thermal bottle galactic gear? Is there any?
I think
go on.
Odo's in there. I think
she's captured a
maybe
changeling.
she's got the female changeling in that mug. Yeah.
What is there a description on the back for Keiko?
Yes, there is. Do you want me to read this?
Oh yes.
I'm fully aware, everyone in the chat, that we are hitting the 2-hour mark for this episode, but
Get a
fuck it.
thermal bottle and sit
okay.
down ready.
Right, okay. I'll do it in my best narrator voice.
Oh
Okay.
God.
Keiko Ishikawa served as a Starfleet botanist on the USS Enterprise, not reading out the full name, when she met Chief Miles O'Brien. They were married in 2367 by Captain Jean-Luc Picard in a mixture of Japanese and Irish traditions. Keiko joined her husband when he was assigned as Chief Operations Officer to Deep Space Nine in 2369. To fill a pressing need, Keiko opened a school on the station for the children of Starfleet officers and Bajorans. The school was the center of controversy, as Keiko refused to teach Bajoran spiritual beliefs. Although it was firebombed, Keiko reopened the school and continued to teach until 2371. When attendance dwindled due to the threat of a Dominion attack. For further information, please contact Major Kira Nerys, Bajoran Liaison Officer.
Firebombed?
Yeah, the school got firebombed. Yeah,
Like someone just threw a can of Stella that was lit.
That's what was in the fucking thermal thing. That's what's in the.
That's
what's in the thermal bottle.
I don't care. It's 5 a.m. in Singapore. This show has been amazing.
That is crazy. I was chatting to people earlier about what time the show is, and obviously this show, it's 8 p.m. in the UK, but then it's 3 p.m. in America. But I never even thought there'd be 5 a.m. in Singapore. Bloody hell.
Shall we end the poll and find the results?
Yes, let us end the poll.
Computer, end my poll. It's ended.
It should already have an end. Okay, yeah, so has this episode changed your mind on Keiko? Yes, 71%. That is good, I think. Like, yeah, no, I think that's good because that's what we set out to do. But I think it's because we don't really think about Keiko O'Brien too much. Oh, O'Brien. I just went a bit like O'Brien there. Oh, is there a Keiko O'Brien? Release
Marriage.
Keiko O'Brien.
Marriage. The fact that... Sorry. But...
That's how the episode where Miles gets arrested and put on trial in Cardassia should have been. We are speaking Miles O'Brien.
We sentence you to death. Do you have any further notes for this fantastic episode of ours?
No, I think I'm not reading the messages in the chat, but they are making me laugh. No,
Oh
I
God!
think
just crushed my hand. I went down.
With
Went
a
to close the
plastic
lid.
bottle.
I went. So for those,
You
for
should
those,
be using a Keiko O'Brien Starfleet thermal.
For
bottle.
those
That's
not
what you
in
should be
Europe,
using.
for those not in Europe, we have to have these lids, and they are so annoying because you can't like just close it. You have to do that. But because I'm using a water bottle, it does this.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyway,
That was like ASMR for some people there.
I apologize. I will
I
do it
could
again.
crush a bottle. But yeah, no, I don't have. I think we've covered Keiko O'Brien thoroughly, but I'm glad that we've changed the minds of some of the people. Please leave comments if you're watching this back or listening to it back. Please leave a comment about your thoughts on Keiko O'Brien and your thoughts on what we've discussed about her and whatnot. Because I'm actually really intrigued with the whole, if she was a mainline character, what kind of plots would you give her? Like how would you integrate a character like Keiko into the show more? I would love to get some nice big comments on the video just going into that, because maybe my idea of the Jem'Hadar being plant-based is actually really crap. But so if you can do better, please do, and let's start a discussion.
Please leave comments down below. If you have liked this video, please leave a like. And if you are not subscribed to Trekkin Up North, what are you doing, my darlings? You need to click the subscribe button. But that is all for our discussion on Keiko O'Brien for now, because what is happening next week, Science Officer Synoiz?
Well, this is all just been one big lie, like this whole thing.
It is.
Because obviously we've tricked you. We've swayed you into changing your mind about Keiko O'Brien, when the reality is that Keiko O'Brien is the greatest evil in the entire galaxy. Like, Keiko O'Brien is behind everything. Like, every possible bad thing that's happened in Star Trek, the source can be traced, not directly, but through various interlinking chains that I have a large confusing whiteboard of.
And we can prove it.
O'Brien.
We can prove it a little bit. I mean,
prove is a strong word. We can do pretty much what most people on the internet do and wildly speculate. But
it does. It will make sense. It will make sense. Next week on Trekking Up North, we are going there. For those that were not around when we were first conceptualized 3 years ago,
Destination Trek,
or a Destination Trek where that one person walked out. For those that don't know, there is a famous conspiracy here at Trekking Up North, and that is the Keiko O'Brien conspiracy. It has spawned t-shirts, it has spawned mugs, and it has also spawned a very detailed PowerPoint presentation that we showcased live at our very first convention stage appearance.
and a lady walked out,
walked out.
The greatest.
That was your best achievement
for someone like me, of going, I made someone walk out with my bullshit, so I'm happy about that.
But we will be discussing the Keiko O'Brien conspiracy next week, live on Trekking Up North. Like I said,
and it'll be our final episode before STLV.
They don't know that. Shut up.
That's how time works, Goodwill.
That's time is time is a corporeal construct. We are the prophets. We are off to STLV in just under 2 weeks' time. We will be. Oh no! Well, when is STLV? Is
we have next Friday, and then we are.
It's 3 weeks' time. STLV. We are off to. We're off to the colonies to spread our to spread the Keiko conspiracy far and wide to anyone who will hear it or accept our pamphlets. We are off to them United States for STLV. If you are going to STLV, I think you should come up to us and say hello, and maybe just
promenade.
Or just promenade, and be part of one of. or be part
One
of
of our
one of our
catchphrases, yeah.
If you can't find us, just go, Miles, Miles, your sorbet sucks. But we
We have far too many catchphrases.
we
now.
do. But we will be at STLV this August in Las Vegas. Please click that subscribe button in the description down below. There is a
And
link
also, you need
Yes.
to go to Adequate Merch.
That's what I was about
in the
to say.
description. I'm going to get there before you. But yes, we now have a merch store. So you can get the lovely hand sewn, I think it's machines. So
It was hand sewn by
you.
all of the children that Keiko O'Brien has kidnapped over the years.
But yeah, all of the merch, it's available. The link in the description below or adequatemerch.com. And yeah, you can help support the channel with that. And if you are coming to STLV and you order the merch, it'll probably arrive in time. So you could even wear it there, and surprise us with a Keiko O'Brien t-shirt or whatnot.
Oh,
It
I
be
would
wonderful,
love that.
But have
I
a
would
look.
love that.
Yeah.
Have a look down below. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers, I have been Captain Goodwill of the Starship Adequate. He has been the delectable Geesian from the planet Honk, Science Officer Synoiz. This has been Trekking Up North. Thank you so much for listening to our innate ramblings for 2 hours and 6 minutes. Live long and prosper, stay safe, and as ever on Trekking Up North, Miles.
Miles?
Miles.
Miles?
Miles. Miles.
Promenade!
Your sorbet sucks. Now get out.